but here we go. It seems like we're limited on time now, so I'll go through these as fast as I can, and then maybe we can try and do some sort of question and answer at the end in the chat box, or well, we'll sort something out. Okay, let's start anyway. Right, relationship marketing. First of all, what is it? It's basically a shift in focus from the quantity of relationships versus the quality of relationships. So shift from quantity of relationships to quality of relationships. Okay, I'm getting another interruption. Just bear with. Don't know where I'm taking them with this. Okay, so basically, as I was saying, it's the shift from the quantity of relationship to the quality of relationship. So if you consider the indie band example, obviously not talking about Taylor Swift and her crew, but the typical indie band, um, if you consider 10,000 moderately loyal fans for an indie band, and if they're only moderately loyal, then they're likely to, if we just go on the assumption that if they're only moderately loyal, they're only likely to spend around £10 a year through loyalty. So 10,000 fans, £10 a year, you're looking at about £100,000 a year in revenue. Now, if you contrast, this is the obviously the quantity example, but if you then contrast that with 1,000 fiercely loyal fans, and if you think about how much a fiercely loyal fan is likely to spend with the same band or on the same product, it's likely to be a lot more. So going on the assumption that they're likely to spend about £100 a year through loyalty, you still get 100,000 in revenues at the end of the year. But the difference there is 100,000 fans, sorry, 10,000 fans versus 1,000 fiercely loyal fans. So that's the question the product creators are asking themselves. I mean, which way should we approach this? You know, should we focus on the quantity of relationships, or should we focus on the quality of relationships? But I want to explain why this has actually come about. Like, why is this question even coming up, basically? And the reason why that is, if you think about we had relationship marketing in like the 18th and the 19th centuries before. So if you think about the local barber, the local grocer, the blacksmith, I can't remember what some of the businesses were around at that time now, the dentist and what have you. Um, the focus was always on you know, having the relationship with a local supplier, because you couldn't really go outside of your local town. So it was in the interest of the local business to really look after its customers anyway. But then what you had, obviously, you had this shift, I think it was around the 1920s, 1930s, where we started getting advertising, heavy advertising. Then obviously TV and radio came along, and then we had obviously, you know, we were able to do this mass production and what have you as well. So that meant businesses could then now start going after regional and national markets, and obviously international as well. And so they decided to change the way that they actually approached you know, people globally, and the focus then became on advertising and mass marketing, basically. So the market shifted. But the thing is, the larger business was still able to implement some sort of relationship marketing, because they could pay for staff. If you think about companies like IBM, they could hire a huge amount of staff that could, you know, jump in a car, go out and see a client 2 hours away, or jump on a plane and go and see a client, you know, in another state, say in the US or in another country, sit down with them and spend the time to see them 5, 6, 7 times. And obviously that would come in at a huge cost to the corporate. But the smaller business couldn't really do that. They didn't have the resources, or they didn't have the resources to really pull this off. Okay, so obviously we had this market of advertising and you know, basically mass marketing, mass production, mass distribution. But since then, since the advent of social media, you got your Twitter and your Facebook, and things are now starting to shift back. They're starting to move back towards, you know, quality of relationships. And the reason why this is happening is for a few reasons. But one of the main reasons is the consumer state. The customers the typical consumer is actually getting tired of ads. Basically, if you think about, I'm sure a lot of you guys have checked your Facebook this morning. If you think about how many ads you actually noticed this morning, or when you were browsing the web, Reddit maybe, or any of these places, we've got ad fatigue now as consumers. We don't really notice ads as much anymore. We try and forward them on Netflix if we can, or I don't know if they have ads on Netflix, but on YouTube, we're waiting to hit the skip ad button. There's a lot of apathy, and so these kind of things shows that the consumer state has actually started to shift, it's started to change. So advertising's not working as well anymore. The third thing there is also attention span as well. We've got Facebook notifications, we've got WhatsApp notifications, we've got text messages, we've got overflowing inboxes. There's notifications left, right, and center. We're getting busier now as well. There's a lot of things that are now competing for our attention. And so we don't have the time to actually pay attention to kind of billboards, advertising, these kind of techniques. So the consumer state has shifted quite a bit. And the other thing is now the consumer basically wants to feel more connected, and they want to feel more in charge of their choices. Despite economic turbulences, consumers still have more disposable income, right? And if you think about the number of choices that you have, you think about the if you imagine that there's 1,000 categories in the App Store, for example, for the iPhone App Store, the Apple App Store, or even the Android App Stores, and you have 1,000 products in each one, the amount of choice that the consumer now has is huge compared to what you had 100 years ago. For every product in every category, there's a huge amount of choice. So the power has shifted away from the business in terms of buying decision, forcing themselves on the consumer, really a lot more over to the consumer. And then if you couple that with accessibility, and what I mean by accessibility, I don't mean in terms of disabled access and what have you. What I mean by that is the tools that are available to be able to speak to customers and to be able to develop relationships with them. So again, if you look at the social media, Twitter, where you've got Robert Downey Jr. speaking to his fans, and you've got the band makers, the artists speaking to their fans, and you've got big businesses speaking to their fans. Even I think Elon Musk speaks to a lot of his customers on Twitter at the moment. The guy that's making the Tesla's car. All of that basically now results in a massive opportunity. Basically, actually, let me just check. I'm getting a lot of notifications here. Back on. Right, so what I was saying was that all this, basically, this shift in the consumer state, this apathy, ad fatigue, and what have you, that basically results in a huge opportunity for businesses now. Opportunities like a company called Buffer App, the founder of which was actually originally from Sheffield, that was doing, it's a social media utility for basically scheduling your tweets and stuff. And this was a company that was doing $100 a month in revenue around 2011. The guy was operating this from his bedroom in Birmingham. That company has now gone from $100 a month in revenue to now $5 million in annual sales in just about almost 4 years, basically. And this is predominantly built on relationship marketing. This is a company that doesn't do Google ads, they don't do Facebook ads, they don't do any kind of traditional advertising whatsoever. It's all relationship marketing, basically. I mean, there's some content marketing there, which is a flavor of relationship marketing, but it's relationship marketing. And so a small business like this can now compete on the global scale, basically, and that's what relationship marketing gives you. Other opportunities like Marco, which is this is I think it was four former villagers in Pakistan. They got together and decided to create a company that does handcrafted shoes. Apparently, David Miliband's buying some of their shoes just this morning. I saw their tweet this morning, and this is how popular this company has become. And it's a group of people, just a small group of people in Pakistan that are creating handcrafted shoes, and they've been able to raise $55,000 in 24 hours on Kickstarter, all through relationship marketing. Again, not through traditional digital marketing well, traditional marketing means basically. And this is the opportunities that relationship marketing is creating. Um, so that's where we're at. So looking at basically how does a business or a company actually implement this in their business? It ultimately comes down to the mindset, as in it requires a different approach, right? And the approach is basically built on two principles. One is that the business really needs to focus on raving fans, not just customers. So I don't mean fans just in terms of an indie band having music fans, but fans, businesses having actual fans that the customers really rave about that particular business or the product. So a shift from getting as many customers as possible to getting as many raving customers as possible. And the second principle is to treat every customer not just as a number but as an actual human, right? The thing that you have to think about is, would you expect a stranger to buy you a birthday present on your birthday? That's the thing that we're looking at right now. If you walk into a crowd somewhere and go up to a random stranger and say it's my birthday today, will you buy me a birthday present? You're going to get some pretty weird looks. You'll probably get a phone call to the police as well. But there you go. But we're doing the same thing in terms of business. We're calling somebody, we're getting hold of a database, some Excel spreadsheet. We're calling somebody and we're saying to them, here's an insurance package, buy this off me. We don't know them, we don't have any relationship with them, they don't have anything with us. And yet, just in the same way as you wouldn't ask somebody to buy you a birthday present, we have no relationship with them and we're expecting them to spend money on us. And it's no longer working. And that's the way to actually change the business now, is to basically focus on those two principles, is start forming the relationship with them. Customers are more likely to spend with you if you have a relationship with them, basically. So just looking at what the actual components are and what it means on a more practical level in terms of implementing that in the company, the components of that, if you were to distill that down to a process, into what does relationship building actually mean? How do you form a relationship with somebody? If you go back to the example of the birthday present, if you think about, well, somebody who wouldn't buy me a birthday compared to somebody who wouldn't buy me a birthday present compared to somebody who would buy me a birthday present, the difference is that the person that would, they have some trust with you. They've known you for a long time. They trust you. They value your integrity. You've had some shared experiences, all this kind of stuff. So the components that you have to really focus on are, number one, you've got to establish trust with the potential consumer. And that's things like, just, are you what you say you are? Does your product claim to be, is your product what it claims to be? Are you authentic? Those kind of things. So even thinking about things like websites, do they look like they're homemade? All that kind of stuff. Do the product, it basically, does it say what it claims to do? Number two is demonstration of integrity. Like, are you consistent in your behavior to give you the same experience every single time? Are you flaky? Are you not flaky? All that basically comes down to integrity. And then number three is basically providing value. What are you doing to basically get them to basically appreciate you and show that you actually appreciate them as well? So they're the basic components of relationship building that companies now need to start looking at. So basically, and if those principles are in, then you can start moving them from basically stranger to friend. So you want basically customers that are friends instead of just treating them just like strangers, basically. Okay, so a bit more getting into what the actual process is, based on the foundations of the relationship building components. So actual process, when a customer actually approaches you, or when you want to actually approach a potential customer, what are the things that you would do? Again, thinking about what happens when you meet a stranger for the first time and you're interested in becoming friends with them. What are the things that actually happen? So, normally you take an interest in them. You'll ask them, you get to know them. You ask them what their favorite movies are, what their hobbies are, what they like to do, that kind of stuff. So you take an interest in that person. Then you have obviously shared experiences. So, you get to know somebody, maybe you go to the movies together, maybe you go for a meal together, maybe you go and play golf together. You do something together. Now, if it's somebody that you're interested in based on a particular common interest, so I don't know, it's difficult to come up with some really quick examples, but let's say somebody's interested in car racing, then chances are if you want a shared experience with them, you're going to go on a racing circuit with them. You're not really going to maybe focus on going to a knitting class with them. Those things don't really relate. But based on shared values, you're going to have some sort of shared experience with them. You're going to do nice things for each other. Maybe you'll pay for their meal. Maybe you'll compliment them. Maybe you'll praise them. Maybe you'll just kind of look out for them. You'll just take time to listen to them. You're going to do something nice for them. That's what you would do for a friend, and that's what, and as you give it time, as you give that relationship time, you're going to start becoming really good friends with them, and they're going to really appreciate you. Now, if you think about the companies are not doing these with the consumers or the customers at the moment. But if they did, you're going to start becoming friends with that company, basically. Okay, so moving on from there, the benefits that you're going to get from that are obviously you're going to get increased customer loyalty. So they're likely to keep coming back. They're likely to keep buying from you. They're likely to spend more with you. So that means increased customer lifetime value. They're going to spend more with you over the year. So obviously that leads to more profitability. You're going to get referrals through goodwill. I mean in plain English that basically means you're going to get more word of mouth. If you've got a customer that really appreciates you and really has nice things to say about you, then they're going to go and tell somebody else. So that automatically starts spreading that word of mouth and automatically starts getting you more customers without you having to spend more on advertising, basically. It increases conversion rates, as in the possibility of you then getting a sale, going from prospect to customer, that conversion, the chances of that are going to be much, much higher, and the ratio of that's going to be much higher. But the last thing is that it also levels the playing field. Going back to the example of the buff wrap company and the Marco company, the shoes company, and the social media utility company, it now means that even every small business, the one-man band operating from his bedroom, the smaller business operating from town, the business that has remote workers around the world, just even a small amount, you now have a level playing field with the corporate, with the really, really big giants. This is why you can now have a really small company that can be nobody today. So something like Dropbox that was effectively a nobody, say 7 or 8 years ago, to 3 or 4 years later is on a level playing field with the Microsofts and the IBMs and the Googles, right? I think they're valued at 90 million now. But this is the opportunity that it creates, and it makes that thing easy for you now. So the last thing is what takes a company that does a good job of this in terms of relationship marketing, what takes them from being really good at it to being really great at it. And that's basically companies that build that relationship building process into their actual product. So the product starts building the relationship with the customer and the consumer as well. So companies like Apple, they were actually a really big example of that, and there's a lot of other companies around as well that are doing this. But the product itself basically makes really good friends with you, and that takes a company from good to really, really great. So I've had to rush through that quite quickly because we're limited on time and we need to have some time left over for the questions. But just one last thing at the end is that there is a voluntary challenge as part of this lecture, which is have a think about over the next week about companies that are doing relationship building, companies that you love. What are they doing to build relationships with you, if at all? And the things to think about are, what are they doing to establish the relationship with you? What are they doing to develop that relationship with you? And what are they doing to nurture that relationship with you? So that's something to think about. It's just something voluntary you can think about over the next week. And then obviously we can take it from there. So I'm just going to stop this and go back to the questions. So I'm sorry if I had to rush through that quite quickly because we've been limited on time because of technical difficulties before. But I'll open this up to the questions now. So if you've got any questions, I'll try and answer them on here. Okay, so the question is, as a new business, what would be the first step to start building relationships? So the thing that you've got to think about, it goes back to what is the process that you actually go through to turn a stranger to a friend, right? What is it that you actually do with that person? If you've got a customer coming in, if you've got the stranger, you're going to take an interest in them. You're going to have some shared experiences with them. You're going to get to know them a little bit, and you're going to give it some time, right? So for the business, they've got to think about the same thing. So I'll give you an example from Buffer app, how they did it when they had the first 10 or 11 customers. One of the things that happened was they had a customer and she wasn't able to figure out how to use the software. She couldn't get it installed. She couldn't get it working. And what the actual he obviously he was the CEO at the time. It was only a one-man company at the time. What he did was he actually emailed her. He called her, and he spent 45 minutes on the phone taking her through it, like how to get it installed and how to use it. And he spent a lot of time with her showing her how to use it. Now, no other social media utility company was doing that at the time. And the result of that was basically two things. One was she really, really appreciated it. And because of that, she went instantly from just a lay customer to somebody that was a raving fan instantly. And she went out and told a lot of other people about the app, that I really like this app and the customer service is really good and they really took their time to really help me. And the second thing was that it gave them feedback. Okay, she tried using the form. She couldn't understand it, to pay and to log in. Maybe we need to change that. They were able to use the feedback to improve the product. So they, use the relationship to actually get feedback on improving the product, which in turn also helps the customers even more. So hopefully that answers your question. If it doesn't, just let me know and I'll try and go over it again if not. Put this back on record. The question is Facebook losing customer interest because of ads? I don't have any actual data on Facebook themselves. There's a lot of whispers around. I mean, there's a lot of different media agencies that are reporting different things. Facebook would know that better themselves because they've got actual data on this. But I would imagine that they are losing some interest somewhere because they've it's pulling a lot more people in. And if you look at the mobile app, for example, I don't think you even see the ad on there because they've obviously realized that we can't start interrupting people on the mobile app. It's just going to get in their way. Whereas on the web version of Facebook, there's more real estate. If you know what I mean by real estate, there's more space on the screen, so they can put the ads in the corners. So what I would say is the chances are they are definitely losing interest. That's what I would say the chances are. What the actual data shows, I don't know. Only Facebook really knows that. But it's pretty obvious that they are trying a lot of different things. The algorithm's always changing. 1 minute Facebook looks like this, 6 months later it changes. They're trying different things with the pages and stuff. There's a whole host of stuff that's happening over there. So I think they're definitely aware of it. And they're definitely trying to look at other avenues that can allow their customers to build relationships with their customers. So, this is why Facebook pages first came in and the Facebook community groups. This is why you've got Coca-Cola that has this huge Facebook page. That was the whole point of that. Facebook recognized that and realized that, we need to allow our customers, the people who are paying for these pages, to be able to build relationships with their customers. And that's what Facebook pages were for in the beginning. It seems to have turned into more of a broadcast medium now. Everybody's all about just saying, well, here's our new shop and here's our new website and here's our new this. The businesses are just broadcasting more and they're not really taking the time to actually get to know their customers, and that would have been a really good way for them to do that. So it's a good avenue for it, but I can't really completely answer that question, but I've done the best that I can and I hope that helps.